Hey everyone, I'm Chef Dennis, and welcome to session 2 of the third annual Virtual Bloggers Conference. And right now we're coming up with how to be a YouTube show host. And we've got a great panel for you that do a variety of shows using the YouTube format. And right now we're also periscoping. So if you are watching on Periscope, you can come watch us live on Google or YouTube as well and ask questions. I may not see them scroll up if you ask them on Periscope. I just wanted to let you know you have that opportunity. And we've got a lot of people in the house watching. And if you missed the first session we did, which was on SEO, you want to go back and watch that because it was really packed with a lot of great information with David Amerland, Mark Trapp-Hagen, and Eric Engie. So catch that. But now we're going to say hi to everyone, and then we're going to get started. So my sister Thelma, Mia Voss, how you doing?
Morning, Chefy. How are you?
Great. And you had some fun this morning with some puppies?
I did. We did a Periscope. I went and did some puppy rescue this morning that came in from Oklahoma, so I smell like puppy breath right now.
Puppy breath is the best.
It's the best. You know, do you like the leftover from last night?
Yay, wine. You know, I thought of you. I saw something, someone was posting some new system to deal with leftover wine to keep it fresh, and I went, what are you talking about, leftover wine? That can't be in the same sentence.
I say I'm no quitter.
Yeah, if you can't drink the bottle, don't open the bottle.
Yeah, you can't handle it, don't open it.
Yeah, it's not like a bottle of vodka or something. You know? So anyway.
That's awesome. Well, it's good to be here.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for being here, and we'll talk about what you did and maybe some of your webinar stuff and different things that you can take advantage of from being a YouTube show host and producer.
Oh, show.
Oh, yeah. And in between the two ladies, I have Jeff Sieh, who commonly, I don't know what, I want to call you one of the Smith brothers right now, or what. I love that mustache going.
Well, I started curling it. My kids like it, you know, and it just takes a little bit of earwax, and you get used to the smell after a while, so it's not bad. No, it's yeah. This is a yeared. This is actually a yeared, over a yeared. I grew it when Ronnie Benser and I went to South by Southwest 2 years ago. Is when I started, and so yeah, everybody talks about the beard. I get a lot. You know, people say, Jeff, you know, doesn't it make you hot in the summer? And I say, no, the beard makes me hot all year round.
All year round. Well, you know, someone had told me that you were actually trying out for a new spot on ZZ Top, and that's why you were.
Yeah, if I spend something, that's what's going on. I'm trying to go for ZZ Top. Yeah.
There you go. That's a jam in Texas band, if I do remember.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you for being here today, and you have a really great show with the manly Pinterest.
Yep, Manly Pinterest Tip Show. We've been going really well, and it's also a podcast, which is great. And I know you're going to have a session about podcasting later on, but it's a great way to repurpose a show and also reach a whole nother audience. And so I've had a lot of success with that. In fact, I'm speaking at Podcast Movement at the end of July, which will be a great opportunity for me, and there's a lot of great people there speaking as well.
Great. Well, good. Well, I look forward to talking to you more about that. And then coming to us from Mariel, England, who's teasing us now because she's outside, I have Azlin Bloor. Hey, Lynn.
Hey. Hi, Chef. Hi, everyone. Good to be here.
And you do a couple different shows. In fact, you have AZ Entertainment, which gave me the idea for starting my production, my Ask Chef Dennis Productions, because I saw you and Larry both had something like that. And when YouTube threw me in jail, that's what I used as a model.
Excellent. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I think I started AZ Entertainment, as those of us on this side of the pond call it, over a year ago now, because I wanted to separate the shows from my personal videos, you know, because personal videos can get a little bit crazy. So. Well,
you know, I try not to put those videos up anymore. Those crazy ones. Yeah. The rubber blow up doll has its own channel now.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah. And YouTube, you know, I'm only kidding. If you did hear that, we don't.
Yeah, I'm like, don't play around now, Chevy.
Yeah, that was someone else that uploaded those videos. It wasn't me.
Yeah. Heard that one.
And here, Kim Boltman has a comment for Jeff. All you need now is a pair of cheap sunglasses.
Yeah, I was looking for some. I don't have any in here, but Yeah,
Well,
that
I
would
think
look
And
like.
a blow-up guitar, an air
That's
guitar.
right. Yeah, that would look really cool.
we'll just drop the blow up things for now. Okay, we don't want to go there anymore. It's too early in the day.
Not for me.
Oh, well, that's good to
I
know.
like
Lynn,
to babysit it.
Lynn's always ready. Yay!
Well, hey, when you're awake, yeah, I'm always ready.
Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. Anyway,
Ah,
let's talk a little bit now about how you can start your own YouTube show host, be a YouTube show host, and start your own production, because really videos are capturing everyone's attention, especially now with Periscope and Meerkat. And with Periscope, you can actually save your Periscope to your phone or camera, and I knew that because Mia told me that. And you can upload it to YouTube later, or you can trim it down or do other things to it and upload it. So there's a lot of possibilities now for getting your video content out. And a show, even if it's just a very short show, is a great way to do it and repurpose material to have other people on. So we're going to start talking now, and we'll start with Mia. And Mia, tell us, and guys, feel free to jump in, have something to say, and just talk to each other. If you have questions in the audience, please put them in the comments section, and we will pull them up. So Mia, talk to us a little bit about how this started for you. And
yeah. Well, it wasn't with a blow-up doll. I'm kind of sad about that. You know, it's interesting, though, with talking about branding and, you know, what Lynn was saying with making the choice of, like, I'm going to put these videos here. I think that's the most important thing for people to come up with right off the bat. I mean, you don't have to have that exact brand, but I think you definitely need to know what direction you're going in, because I remember when I started doing the Power Chats, I had it under the Mia Connect. You know how you can, have it. It was on the business page, and it was uploading to YouTube. And Ronnie Benzer actually helped me switch that over, because I realized that the Mia Connect can just be kind of an umbrella corporation, so to speak, and then the Mia Voss was the brand. So I was able to switch that over pretty easily earlier in the game. But I think that's the biggest thing, the most important thing to think about first is what is your end game, and what's it going to be under, and what's the name. Because once you start getting in that mode, it is kind of hard to switch that over, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. It's about making the decision now to take it, just like I did now with the production. It's something I thought of doing, and it was something that YouTube kind of forced me to do, by, when someone hacked my account, which is something we're going to talk about too. If you do have an account, you want to use double verification so you don't get it hacked. In fact, I had my designer doing some work this morning for me, and they sent a verification code to my phone, so I had to email it to her real quick. So that does show that it works.
Oh, definitely. And that's the great thing. Once I made that switch, and then I had the Power Chat, and now I've stopped with Google Hangouts, but I am still using YouTube Live quite a bit. And actually, I'm stopped with the Google Weekly Show. Like you're taking a break, and I'm on hiatus as well, so I can explore. So that's been fun. I've got this great base of a YouTube channel with all my playlists, which I think is a huge thing as well. I mean, because now I've got Food and Booze Show. I've got my channel for my clients that I'm doing the video product now, still using YouTube Live. I just cut it up and I get to edit it and then turn that into a YouTube commercial, which is fun too. But I think playlists are very key to separate that out. That's why Lynn's doing what she does as well, is like having these playlists. So you can have almost your different personalities on that and have these different broadcast towers that have a different flavor to it. You don't have to choose one thing.
Well, that's just like a television station will have different shows on different times of the day. So, it's the same thing. We have different. It's your own cable station.
I'm thinking of the evening program, the late night programming.
I think the playlists are a good idea, aren't they? So when even though you have the one channel, you can have different sets of things, as Mia was saying. What do you have, Mia? What sort of different playlists have you got?
So I definitely have the Power Chat, so that's been fun. I mean, that's just been from the very beginning. So all my Power Chats are in there. And then I have Food and Booze shows, which is great. I said booze, people, just so you know. Everybody's like, food and what? I'm like, you heard me. You get that right. But I have the Food and Booze show, and then now I have two different products. I have an interview-style product that I put together for companies. So it's sort of like the interviews I would do on the Mia Connect Power Chat, but now those sit, and I turn them into these 5-minute fun, sexy little interview-style programming that they can use for marketing, but then that sits on my playlist as well. So when I share that out, the other thing I make sure to do is if I share that out to, if I, decide to push that out on social media, I make sure to use the URL that's in the playlist. So as soon as it's done, it doesn't go to some random, like, car tire changing thing or sausage making or whatever, because one of mine actually went to sausage making video, and I thought, well, that's interesting. I don't know why, but then it stays within your playlist, and so it'll queue to the next video in your playlist. So I think it is fun. It is having these different channels, like you said, Sheffy.
Very good, and that's good advice about that too. And here's a comment from Kim Voltman. I loved your recent "Don't Do That" video. Good advice, humorously, Kevin.
You're right. I do have the that I started. That's actually part of the webinar that I'm doing called "How to Give Great Video." Got to have something salacious when it's me,
Mm-hmm.
But I did a video called "What Not to Do," because there's so many, and one of them is not looking at the camera. And the other was clown makeup. It was pretty funny. Thank you, Kim. Thank you for that.
Clown makeup. And Coach Moore wants to know if you ever did master the GoPro.
Oh, no, I had, you know what, if you look back in my, when I downloaded, which I did, and I'm waiting for, oh my gosh, Cameron is going to turn them together, because I took the GoPro and I put it on a selfie stick, and then I had my friend take me around Rome on the back of a, not the motorcycle, the little, the moped, just like the Roman holiday, and I took a GoPro. But I will say I didn't master it well, because I had 100 pictures that looked like this, just like my face, because I was like me trying to figure out if I had the GoPro right. It's literally like chin, nostrils, and a frown. 100 of those.
Kind of like my first Periscope experiment, huh?
I was. Your Sheffy's midriff.
Yes, so everything was being shown but me. All right. Well, good. So, we can move. Well, let's move along now. Do you have any other questions? And let's talk to Jeff for a minute. And Jeff says, you decided to start, you were talking about how you're repurposing your videos with podcasts, but what made you decide you wanted to go with the manly Pinterest tips?
Well, one of the things I want to go back, because I know Mia talks about this, and I know people ask this question a lot, is there's, the barriers to get into doing video. And one of the biggest things, and Mia teaches on this, is you've got to just do it. You've got to be comfortable with yourself being in front of the camera. And this quote probably changed my life and made me start doing stuff more, was this guy I saw in a conference named John Acuff, and he said, 90% perfect and shared with the world always changes more lives than 100% perfect and stuck in your head. Because so many people sit there and vapor lock and don't want to do anything, or they want it to be perfect. And as we know, as hosts of shows, no show ever goes perfect. Something always happens, and you've just got to acknowledge that and move forward. So that's, I think, the biggest thing people are scared of to get into video, and you just have to push through that. I don't feel comfortable still in front of a camera. I know that. I know I never will 100%. I mean, Mia's actually an introvert. She's talked about that before. But you just have to push through that, and that's the only way you're going to move on to the next level, is pushing through that barrier that you have in front of yourself. Anyway, I wanted to say that. Mainly Pinterest tips started, I wrote an article, and I hadn't done any shows or videos or anything, and I wrote an article about sharing a board with my daughter, and it did really well. And somebody said, hey, why don't you do a show? And that was Les Dossie, who was on Google+. And I got together with Wade Harmon, Stefan Hovnanian, and Mike Alton, and they all had a lot more followers than I did. I was just starting. And I said, let's do a show. And they said, okay. And we did about 5-10 shows, and it really went well. People liked it. And then we did a show called The Manly Show, where we interviewed all sorts of different people. We had the producer of Pretty Woman on, and it was a lot of fun. So it just kind of went from there, and now I do my show weekly, and it's really great.
You know what's cool is you're telling this, and it's like, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that, right?
Yeah, you were on. I think you were on like when we rebranded. You were one of our first guests we had on there.
Yeah, that was really fun. It was fun to see you guys all bring your strengths together on that. You brought in that cool trailers that you do. Like, everybody brought that together. That was really cool. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Now I'm an introvert hopped up on coffee or wine, just so you know.
Exactly. Well, I think the thing is too is if you're not comfortable, do what I did and get people who you can kind of share the fear with. And
that was a perfect combo, Jeff. Absolutely.
and so I mean I didn't use Comment Tracker for like ever because I didn't want to have that pressure on me. I wanted to learn how everything worked before I did that. And now, you know, I'm like me, I'm pulling in comments, reading stuff on different things, but it takes a while. So people who are really wanting to get started, don't try to do everything at once. You know, maybe get a partner, maybe hire somebody to actually run the comments for you if you need that to happen. So just don't try to do everything at once. Just go in there and learn the system, learn the software, be comfortable with talking to the camera, you know, and I think that's the biggest takeaway from all the shows that I've done that I've learned.
Well, that's good advice because learning to get comfortable is the biggest part of it. And, you know, like I said, I'm not, when I first started this, it was painful. And even out today, I still am very shy and reserved, if you can believe that, unless I'm on, as Lisa likes to say, you're on. And I was at a function and they were asking me questions and I had to make myself think this is like doing a show. Be up, be on. You know, so then I just got into that persona. But it's not something that you can that everybody can do just naturally. It's something you really have to work on. So.
And find your comfort level too. Find your comfort level.
Also, you guys are talking about life. You're talking specifically, you know, about being comfortable, about and all. Are we talking about live hosting? I'm curious, both Jeff and Mia. So you're talking about live hosting and everything that you've said so far.
Yes. Now, when I do the videos for my clients, I put that on YouTube and we record it, and then I go back and edit it. So that's what's nice about that. If they're talking and I'm doing the interview and I hear too many ums and ahs, I'll say, "Hey, let me ask you that question again. Let's do it again." So there's a really great, there's some leeway in that as well. But that's one of the things I coach people on a lot too, is being ready to do that. But yes, mainly live. Lynn, great question of you know, either it's a live hangout or you're doing like Chef does or I do, and I know you guys have done it too on a live location. And, you know, that's what I was saying, like find your comfort level. You could be really great with being in front of a crowd. I know I tell a story. Joel Comm was here. I did a live interview, and I got stuck with the last segment where everybody was just loaded. So it was loud, and everybody's drunk, and I'm not even me. I was being good, but and it was super loud, and so I was interviewing people, and I didn't get a headset, and I played it back, and I was like straining because that's not my forte, is to sit there and yell in a crowd. So you may want to find it if it's going to be this quiet interaction like this, or you can have a panel type of thing, which is great, live type of thing, but just find what your comfort level is and then stick with that. And definitely in the beginning, I would not suggest going out and do these remote things. Jeff hit the nail on the head. Just don't try and do too many things.
So perhaps my thought was that, so perhaps, you know, for many who've never done it, and you know, with Hangouts, I mean, those of us who've been doing it a while, we've got problems when we're just about to go live. So rather than jumping in, I totally agree with what Jeff said about just do it. But perhaps just to get your feet warm, do recorded YouTube videos first.
Like I was just saying, that's right, Lynn. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Because you can edit them, can't you? You can get the ums and the ahs out. So, you know, not to mention the part where you spill something on yourself if you're doing food shows, you know.
Can I just tell you, though, just make sure you hit private instead of public. Bill Reed will tell you, I was doing, because I do a lot of my trailers, because I like having my lower third, and I like the smooth function. I'm just saying. And I like my tiara. So, you know, I do that. I do YouTube Live, but I was doing a trailer, and I didn't hit private. And it blasts out because my YouTube is set up to blast to Twitter. And Bill Reed, he pings me and he goes, "What are you doing?" You know, what do you mean? He goes, "You're just saying the same thing over again." I was like, "Oh, son of a!" It was so funny. I was like, because I kept messing up. And so it was like a blooper reel from hell. And he's like, "I've been watching you for 10 minutes. I'm like, "Why didn't you tell me?" He goes, "I couldn't figure out what you were doing." So hit private. There's your tip.
You know, I think it's funny, too, is a lot of people are comfortable different levels. My friend Elisa Meredith, she loves doing Periscope and Meerkat, but she hates doing like Hangouts or any other stuff. Or she freaks out when she has to sit down and record a segment, even with a teleprompter. She doesn't like that, but she excels in Periscope. And so find what works for you and that you like and do more of it, because not everybody's going to have the same comfort level with these different video formats. And the cool thing is now you don't have to have a television studio or a big set or whatever. You can have your cell phone. I would have killed for this 3 years ago with this technology. With your cell phone, you can go around and live stream. That's just incredible that we have that technology now. And so find what kind of video format works for you and just do more of it.
I actually just live streamed on Periscope from the doggy rescue of, like I said, of the woman coming to pick up the puppy and meeting him for the first time. And you're right, I would have killed for that too. These new live stream apps are fun, but that goes along with the advice to test, like see what works great for you. And Jeff, you're absolutely right. If you get me in front of a crowd of people, I got to take my beta blocker so I don't have a heart attack and pass out from panic. Like that's for reals. But I'm in front of this, then that blossom and kind of that type of thing, or with the Periscope. So you absolutely just find your comfort level. I mean, yeah, you might have a little nervousness, but that's to be expected as long as it doesn't come across too much, because watching somebody who's nervous is nerve-wracking. I just shut it off. Like, that's so painful.
And also, I think perhaps get to know your audience, right? You've got to decide who you're trying to reach out, and you must not try and reach out to everybody, because it's not going to work, is it?
No, it's not. And like I said, you really need to try and figure out who your message is going to. And you're talking about being on Periscope and these formats and being ready, because I thought it would be easy just because I do all these, and I tried to do one yesterday, and Mia had to rescue me because of the issues I was having, because I thought it would be easy to do, and before I knew it, I had 8 people watching me.
I called them up. I go, baby, what are you doing? Honey. But that's because it's you, Sheffy. I'm like, you don't have a lot of leeway, buddy. You put something out there, everybody wants to see what you're doing.
Well, it's a good thing to know, so be prepared, because you never know who's going to see you. And you see some questions. What questions do we have, Mia?
I do want to say hi to Dawn Swick, because that's our girl. That's our twinsy. And we had some good fun people out there. Jenna wanted to know, how many times did you record yourself on your phone or camera before you even tried YouTube, private or not? Countless. But, I mean, then I just dove in, you know.
I think I was a guest on either your show or something before I even did my own show, and so being a guest is easy to do. Now you can set up private hangouts with your friends and do it that way. That's a great way to practice and to test and to look, where to look at the camera, what's going to look behind you, because you don't want to glare from a window, and so you can test out stuff doing a private hangout with your friends or your spouse or whatever. So that's a great way to kind of get your feet wet, so to say.
Recording them privately, like you said, and just not inviting the public, because there's not a good chance a lot of people are going to see them if you don't. If you just keep it, even just using a hangout, not public. And talking about glares and things, for about the first year I did these, I had glasses that weren't non-glare, and I got into the habit of having to look down all the time, because otherwise you'd see the little boxes of the screen in my glasses. I finally got these, and I looked up one time and said, oh, it's not there, so now I can look at the camera again. But that's something, little tips you need to think of.
Yeah, especially if you've got porn up. I'm kidding. I just want to
get that pin ready for the blow-up doll.
I see. Sorry, I had to do that. Bruno had an awesome comment. He says, if I ever get stuck in a room full of people, call him. He's going to warm them up for me, which I love. But he said something which I thought was great. He said something, hold on, basically that you treat, he said, think of your show as a TED Talk if you want to practice, which I absolutely love. And then to add on to that, after every show that I did, because I mainly did my own time stamping, I always went back and watched, which for some people would sound like, nails on chalkboard and poking themselves in the eye. But it really is what you guys are talking about. You can start to see patterns that you have. I know if I don't pay attention, I do this. I look like a 4-year-old, I mean, I have to, go back and see what type of things are either talking over people or something like that. So if you want to be serious about this, you got to man up and go back and watch yourself and have someone else watch it and say, hey, you need to maybe focus more on this, or you're ending your sentence in a question too much. The uptalk, that's in my little thing, the Valley Girl. So yeah, you got to go back and watch.
Remember, just because you're in the film strip, people can still see you. So it's not a good time when someone else is in the center to start picking your nose or, doing things that you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, playing with a blow-up doll.
Well, yeah, here's something I said in my webinar. It's called, you guys are going to love this. Have you ever heard of the term resting bitch face? Have you ever heard that? Okay, so it's basically like when you're not paying attention, you can look real grumpy. And some people have that. You ever had somebody's face and you're just like, man, they look like a bitch, right? So you want to really work on your resting bitch face and not look too grumpy in this film strip. The camera could be on you and you'd be like this.
Hey, Mike Alton has a great question. He said, how much do you try to prep your guests for shows? Mine depends on the guest. If I know them really well, like if I have Mike on my show, we talk almost weekly, and so it's pretty easy. I'll kind of give him my rundown. Some guests want questions. They want to know what they're going to talk about. I usually try to provide them, but I tell them, since my show is live, I'm bringing in my audience, so you're going to have to think on your feet a little bit as well. So I think it depends on the guest. If they're the first time, my hiccup is not so much the questions and what they're going to talk about, it's the technology. Are they going to have enough bandwidth? Are they going? I had one girl, God bless her, she wanted to do it.
Bless her was coming.
Bless her. But she wanted to do a test, and so we tested it, and it was fine. And I was a little nervous because she was doing it from her Surface Pro tablet, and it worked great. Well, she called for the live show from her work, which was a total different download and everything. I'm like, if we're going to test where you're going to be. It's not the same thing.
It's not a test if you change. Did you see me waving my hands? Oh, Jeff. Oh, dear.
So it just, anyway, so try, that's the big thing. If you want to be invited to be a guest, make sure you have the tools in place to do that, because other hosts, like I would watch Mia's show and I'd watch Chef's show, and we all kind of grab good people. If they're a good guest on your show, you will probably be asked to be in other shows. So make sure you put your best foot forward when you're going on these shows you've been invited to. Have the right technology. Make sure your mic's working. Make sure you shut down Skype, which steals all your bandwidth. Those kind of things will make you more desirable to be a guest on other shows. So anyway, that's my rant.
Oh, that's a good soapbox, brother. I will hold you up there. That is, you hit the points. For me, I actually have a PDF, and I'm pretty staunch with people, because I have had that where I've tested and then the guest will show up 5 minutes before. I had one, get this one, you'll love it. He's in a friggin' coffee shop on his cell phone, and I was like, are you kidding me? And I kicked him out. I said, this is because it actually is distracting. Even if you have a really, really great guest, if they're not prepared, and that breaks their mojo too. That breaks their flow, because then you're distracted. You have to, sit there and worry about, if my white boxing, is somebody else going to come in, and is there an echo? And so that's great advice, though, too. The better of a guest that you are, people are going to line up to have you on their show, because they know you can show up. You're going to show up on time. You're going to show up with great bandwidth. You've already restarted your computer, run a test, done a speed test, made sure you had your headphones, the whole thing, because stuff breaks. I mean, even when you test it all, now I'm on a soapbox. I booted you off, and I got on your soapbox. But stuff breaks. That's sometimes Google Hangouts.
If I can agree with the two of you, actually.
Yeah, get in.
And this is purely from the food show's point of view, because we've got to have the chef, and we've got to have the panelists, food panelists and stuff. And yeah, absolutely. If you're going to host a show and you've got a few panelists, you've got someone who's working for the first time, I think we train our guests constantly. Every new chef's got to be trained how to do this, how to do that. Some of them don't even know how to comment on the event stream if we're talking about HOAs. They don't comment, and I have to send them a personal message. Look, all these people are leaving comments. You've got to check them out. So there's a whole lot involved, and I think the best way to do it is to watch one of the HOAs, one of the more successful HOAs, like Jeff's, Chef Dennis's, Mia's, and see how it's done, and get tips from them. But yeah, people have got to be talked through. Your panelists, your guests, they've all got to be talked through the process. But there's also, I suppose you can also over-prepare, can't you? We went through a stage. We went through a stage where we did a question and answer for each guest because we were trying things, you know. So okay, you've got this question, you've got that question, and then it just looked too forced. So that's over-preparing for you. So.
Right, because then you scare your guests a little too much, Lynn. They're afraid that you're going to get the, you know, they're like, oh man, you know, if they don't answer it right. So maybe they like that. Probably one of the cardinal ones we've had are people who come in and they've got the Hangout going. And so it's like calling into a radio station and you've got the radio on, and then you're like, turn the Hangout.
Yeah, Groundhog Day, right? Round and round.
But you are right. There's a little bit of too much over prep. So I think that's what's fun is get them like, hey, we're going to have fun. Like always, I don't care how serious your show is. You've got to have some fun in it or people are going to snore. So give it a little bit of enough that there's no gaps, right, in the conversation. You can always interject, but there's enough of a good flow too, because then once they get going, they're on a roll.
I've had shows where, you know, I've got some guests who cannot stop talking, and then I've got some panelists who just don't talk. So on the odd show, right, okay, don't forget, folks, don't talk over each other. Let the other person finish talking, and then you end up with a silent show because nobody dares to talk. Oh, my word. So, you know, it's got to be a good balance.
It does. You're right. There's cricket. It's the crickets chirping, like, everybody's a deer in the headlights.
Oh dear. So yeah, so I know I agree with that actually as a host, and it's a tough line, and it's something you're only going to get with experience. You know how much you can how many rules you can make before you put people off, and how little rules you can for the show to actually work. So I think it's something you're going to learn through experience.
Here's a comment from Lena Belamonte. She wants to know, do you think that audience comments can be a feedback for you?
I think that, go ahead, Mia.
Oh, I just said absolutely, and I'm handing the baton off to you.
Oh, well, I was just going to say the Google Hangouts is one of the only, if I don't know any other one, that you can actually bring in the comments. And that's why I still do my weekly show and make it a podcast, because there's no other platform that you can do that in. And people like that. They like seeing their face when you can actually master the comment tracker and bring it up, and they have their avatar that's burnt into the video. And so that just gives you more audience building. People, you know, want to come to your show. You know, we all have, you know, what they call the super fans who come to every show. Man, acknowledge those people. They're coming to watch you, so, you know, don't be arrogant and just brush them off. I mean, these people tune in every week to see you, and you need to be thankful for them and say, hey, and you know, Mia, you do a great job of this, and so does Chef. Is you know, Nazim, he's always there, and he's in the show right now, and he is an awesome guy. And hi, Nazim. And but you know, there's a relationship that's built because he came and visited my show, and I mean, Mia went to Italy and hung out with him because of the show, and so
that's right.
So comments are huge, and I just can't get over. I will not go to another platform because I can't bring in comments. I mean, that nothing else does it for me like that. Being able to do that on a show, it's just amazing. And people, as soon as you can master that, the faster you'll get traction.
I think so too, Jeff. And you can do the combination like I'm doing, which is doing the Periscope, doing Periscope, and then doing a Hangout at the same time, which is fun because I can bring them in as well. So I've made that a little bit of a mashup type of thing. I do like it that Periscope and Meerkat do have the comments that come through, so you can see the little tiny icon that's the same color as whatever the heart is going through. But if on these bigger shows, they just fly by. It's crazy. You can't see them. So there's a little bit of that element too. So I think you can do a combination. Like find what works for you. Jeff loves that. He pulls in the comment tracker, and you're totally right. There's nothing that replaces that with having your little picture and then your comment. I mean, my gosh, it's like showing up on you know, a network show, and you're right. You have to acknowledge. You really should acknowledge everybody. That's what gets people coming back.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think being yourself, yeah, is quite important, isn't it? You know, I mean, how many shows do I see? Yo, what's up, bro? It's like, really? You're English. Why are you talking like that? You know.
Stop it. That's when I go, don't do that.
So I think being yourself is really, really important. Yeah, you've got to talk to yourself in the mirror, record yourself, play it back. See how you sound. So have a few goes, see how it sounds, see what's natural, what's you. So I think
we were talking about that analogy this morning. So here's a funny one. Any of you that are from the states that were born in the 60s or 70s, there's a band in the 90s that did the song called More Than Words. You guys remember that? And it was this like really slow ballad. Well, apparently there was some kind of like headbanger band, right? And they were like, son of a bitch, because that's what everybody wanted to hear was this like, acoustic ballad thing. So it's the same kind of thing. Like the quicker that you get your style, because I went through the same thing with starting my show. It was kind of serious, and then I was like, well, forget this. And then once I went to my authentic self, that's what everybody expected. So if a swear word got dropped or things got dropped or there was a problem, there was a leeway for me because they're like, oh, that's how her show is. So you're so spot on with that advice, Lynn.
So if they wanted a ballad, they weren't getting it from you. They were getting
They were getting headbanger ball, bitches.
Here is a question, if I can find it again. We got a bunch of comments real quick from here it is. Wanted to know how long did it take you before you actually began to create the weekly shows? From Will.
How about you guys? I did interviews, and then I created the weekly shows. Helped me out a lot because instead of being at this like, oh, when can you make it? When can you be on the show type of thing, I set that, and then that set boundaries for me too because I was hopping around trying to fit people in these different time slots, and then once I set my boundary and said, no, this is what's going to work, this is when you can have the show, that freed up a lot of time. I think you guys, we've all been through that of, just it's extremely time consuming to produce these shows. So the more streamlined, the more that you have these steps that you go through, the process maps that I have every week, boom, 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 it's the exact same thing I do, the quicker you'll get it out there.
Yeah, and it's nice. I mean, like you said, Mia, there's the people know. I mean, my show is usually Thursdays at 2 o'clock. Now I'll move that. Like I had a special one Friday because I had we're doing kind of a webinar type thing, and once in a while I'll have Eileen. Like Eileen Smith couldn't do it on during the week, so we did a Saturday show. And so I think mixing it up a little bit is okay. I did tests, and I kind of hit the ground running with the weekly show because I saw how it worked, and I wanted to make sure. If you tell yourself you're going to do a weekly show and you tell everybody else you're going to do a weekly show, then you better do a weekly show. And so it kind of forces you to get prepared, get ready, and consistency. I mean, all of us here, consistency is the biggest thing for success. I mean, if you say you're going to do it, and even though it's hard, and it is hard, it really is hard, finding guests and setting up stuff and tweeting it out and making a blog, it's hard stuff, but the benefits far outweigh for me at least, the pain of doing it. But you need to be consistent. That's the biggest key to anything. We
look like bobbleheads. I'll agree. So
just headbanging to your song, Mia. Do you have to? Just wanted to ask you this because when I started last year, a few people asked me, "What are you hoping to achieve?" And my response right at the start was, "Well, actually, right now I'm just having fun. Ask me again in about 6 months, I might have an answer." So, what was it like for you, Mia?
It was just, the same thing was just building content, and I mean, because that is what really lights me up. If you ask me, what would you love to do, is talking to cool people doing cool shit. I mean, that is my unofficial tagline. I've just, you know how we get so excited when we're talking to people and you get to share them with your audience. Now, of course, that won't pay the rent or the mortgage. So, you have to decide. It is a marketing. The time is a marketing investment, but you do have to set a time limit to that. Okay, how long before I'm monetizing this? Is it that I'm also offering content that I could sell to people? So if it's like for Jeff, you can monetize that by doing podcasts, and then you add advertising to it. So you do need to have that in mind. There's way too many people out there that just think everything needs to be this altruistic, I'll do it for free. That sets a terrible precedent in the world that nobody wants to hire anybody. So, honestly for me, when we started Google Hangouts, I think we all thought there was going to be a lot more of sponsorships coming through, right? We've all been through that. You know, so for me, that's why I've sort of put my show on hiatus, because now I'm taking the skill sets that I have and using that for clients to create video, and then teaching people video tips. But I have all this great content still, so now I still get to have fun and interview people. But I have made it into something that is has some kind of, you know, finance mode to it. I hope that answered your question.
We've got to have that. Jeff, did you have an objective when you started?
Yeah, this is funny because I thought I'm going to try this manly Pinterest tip thing. I said, okay, it takes about a year to grow a beard. I'll grow a beard, and if it doesn't work, I'll shave it off and try something else. Because I mean, I have my local company, His Design, where I do, you know, website design, multimedia, and stuff. And so this was just kind of a pivot, and it was kind of an experiment, and it took off. And it actually now it was all about brand building. You know, it was the build the manly Pinterest tips brand experiment is what it was, and it worked. And now the consulting stuff is really coming in. I'm working on a product, just like kind of like me. I'm not going to do a video product, but it's going to be about Pinterest, of course. And so yeah, I've always had that goal. If it worked, you know. But that's the other thing is you can't start a Google Hangout and expect to monetize in a month. It takes time. You've got to build it. It's just like anything else in life. Nothing is for free. It takes time and work to do it on. But yes, like Mia says, you have to have a goal in mind. And my goal was to, you know, build a brand and then monetize that brand. Because my thinking was, you know, all the big social media experts there's a dime a dozen. They're huge ones, and it'd be a hard way to fit in. I mean, Jay Baer, Seth Godin, all those people, they nailed that marketplace. But niching down, there's still opportunities there, and so I saw Pinterest as that way to go, and I thought, man, if I could get in there, that's yeah, you know. So
yeah, you nailed it. I mean, look at what you've done, which is awesome. Vaynerchuk's another one too. I mean, now that he's doing Gary V. Ask Gary V, which is brilliant. I mean, everybody was waiting for him to do that. He spent a long time building that brand, and then when he launched Ask Gary V, they couldn't get enough, right? But look what you did. This is what's awesome, because I've known you since before you built this. Now you've got this whole set behind you, which is fantastic. You got the drill over off the side. It's hilarious, the level. You know, the whole thing. I'm looking all around it. So yeah, it was this gradual thing, and you did test, and including the commitment of facial hair. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's try this out.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we'll never do that.
Well, my wife was cool with it, so it was fine. So anyway.
It makes you hot all the time.
I think I want to share my own experience here, actually, because as I said, when I started, you know, someone said, so why are you doing Hangouts? And I'm going, right, I don't know, I'm just having fun. It was a new experience. The whole thing was just so much fun. But I did have a problem because for years I'd been blogging under Lynn's Food. Lynn's Food was my brand, you know. But that didn't work when someone else was cooking, someone else with all their various food blogs and stuff. And so then I came up with AZ Entertainment, and then I had a problem. So what am I doing? Am I doing AZ or am I doing Lynn's Food? So I had to decide. So I think that's something you'd want to consider. Where are you going with, you know, can you merge them together or can't you? So.
And you know what, with that, Lynn, because you don't want to confuse people, because you can have, I mean, you really can have fun, because I did say, hey, I'm doing the Food and Booze show. I mean, I've literally built my brand on being a wine hag. You know what I'm saying? Everybody like, hello. You know, like everybody knows, like that's what you do, which is fun. Although Christine DeGraff will tell you that I talk a big game, because when we met in San Diego, she's like, I wish I drank, because I would drink all the glasses of wine you leave all over the place. It's like, you don't finish one glass of wine, you just leave it. But you don't want to confuse your audience with that, and that's what you did, is you cleaned house. So be okay with cleaning house and saying, this is an old brand. It's not what I'm going to do anymore. But that's part of what Jeff's saying too, is niching down and being very clear about who you're serving.
Yeah, and we tried the Manly show, which was fun. I mean, because we said, okay, we started a Manly Pinterest show, well, let's do the Manly show so we don't just have to talk about Pinterest. And we did about 7 or 8 shows of that too, and that went really well. But I was like, I kept getting requests, hey, go back to Pinterest, go help us with Pinterest. You know, we want to have that. You fit in well there, and so I listened and I pivoted back. And so I think being able to pivot inside of your brand too, just like Lynn mentioned, that that you have to be listening. And I have some great people who I can go to, like Mia. I can ask her, what do you think of this? I had Shannon Hernandez, who helped me a ton on my podcast. I'm like, because we all have those self-doubt moments, and I went to Shannon one time and say, do I sound like an idiot? Because you're a radio guy. Do I sound horrible? Because I listen to myself and I am just totally depressed. And he was like, no, you're fine. It's real. And so having those type of relationships that you've built and you've made online is invaluable, and having those people you can go to ask those tough questions who will give you honest feedback is also invaluable.
Yeah, I call that our board of influencers. Those are the people, that's my A team that I can go to. Same thing, they're in your same arena. They have skin in your game because they will tell you. They're okay with telling you. That's absolutely right, Jeff. Just have people like, what do you think about this? You can bounce people off of. I usually have about 5 or 6 people that are in that. Yeah, and all of us as hosts, we've done that for the last year and a half. Just clip it to each other like, hey, what do you think about this? What's your experience with this?
On that note, I just want to say something. Don't be afraid to collaborate. I find I'm a food blogger, so my experience is with food bloggers. Perhaps it's the same with other bloggers, I don't know, but food bloggers are very afraid that if the person next to you is successful, that means he or she is stealing some of your success away. So don't be afraid to collaborate, because collaboration is the key to success as far as I'm concerned. Many of us have discovered that in the last year.
Yeah, I was able to, and it's funny, I even had somebody say, well, isn't she a competitor? I did a product with Cynthia Sanchez, who's Miss Pinterest. I mean, she has a podcast that's been out there forever, and I even had people say, well, why are you doing this with her? Isn't she competing with you? And I'm like, there's enough Pinterest business to go around. I mean, and we helped each other. I was able to help her with video, and she helped introduce me to her audience, and so there's just so much with collaboration. Don't freak out about somebody who is similar to what you're doing. It's not worth it. There's enough business to go around for everybody.
Yeah, Lynn Abate Johnson says, there's enough opportunity to get your slice. There really is. That is such a great piece of advice, you guys, because then you're creating sort of a fear factor way of doing business. And if you're doing that, it's definitely going to just be this edgy. But you're right, you and Cynthia, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely Pinterest driven, but it was so complimentary. It was fantastic. So.
A question here from Alistair McKenzie, and she's talking about the Q&A app, or he's talking about the Q&A app, and he wants to know if you're using comments on the event page, is it better to use the comment tracker, or he's using the Q&A app? Which is better?
Comment tracker, hands down. Q&A, I think, is for bigger brands that like the only people I've seen that have done it that were successful. I mean, like Jennifer Lopez did one, and the Q&A was rolling through because she wasn't necessarily engaging with people. But I think, she doesn't care about. I think these bigger people don't care about. They've already got a brand. I think Q&A. First of all, I think it still opens in a separate window. It takes you away from the event. Yes, I haven't done it in so long that I wouldn't know. You really do want to stay within your event because a big fat no.
Yeah, James Dearsley does it to success.
And he does. That's absolutely right. And James Dearsley.
Yeah, he brings up, and he has it so it highlights his guests, which is a lot of work actually, because he puts their links in there. But I'm the same way. I do not like taking them to another place. I mean, he has to always remind them to go back and click on this thing to get them back in the event so they can ask the questions. And so that and the Applause app, I really don't know what Google was doing, but yeah, comment tracker is the way to go, especially because you can bring in the avatars of people, because that's huge, seeing them on screen.
Very good. Now let's talk. We have some time left, but we haven't talked about equipment and things to use, things not to use, and things that work for you. So I see Mia smiling when we're talking about equipment. I'm not talking about that kind of equipment, man. So,
well, I am.
Hey. The big boyfriend. Anyway, but different items work for different people, but I think we're all pretty much settled on the camera that we use, and if you want to talk about that for a few minutes, that'd probably be a good way to head people on the right direction.
I bet you guys. Oh, go ahead, Lynn.
Yeah, I just want to, because I'm a Mac user, well, both, but when I'm out and about, it's my Mac, and I still use the Logitech 920, despite the fact that Logitech says it's not Mac friendly. It works out of the box. All you need to do is download a free app that you can find online that'll allow you to mess around with its settings, so you can turn autofocus off, white balance, etc., etc. So that's tip for Mac users.
I like this comment here. It says Jennifer Lopez and James Dearsley, very similar brands.
That's true, Mike. Yeah, I'm sure he's
James Dearsley have a big butt.
They're both insured.
They're both insured, yes.
My thing is, yeah, the Logitech 920, and I'm a Mac user too, and I totally agree with that. That little free app, I use that all the time. The biggest thing, and I'm all about repurposing, because I still think to take your show and make it a podcast is huge. You're a whole nother audience. That's a whole nother session by Chef. But your audio is very important. If you have horrible audio, I mean, they'll forgive your video a little bit if you have to drop down your bandwidth settings, but your audio is huge. And so invest in a good mic. You can get a mic like this. I think Mia has one. This one is the pro version of the
Blue Yeti.
Yeah, Yeti. And it just, the audio is huge. Invest in a good mic, and you know, you don't have to have a set. This was after a long time of going, and that's, you know, stuff I got at Michael's or something. Can't remember my wife got it. But yeah, I mean, so just a good mic and lighting. You know, make sure you. One of the things that I really struggled with is I had windows, and depending on the time of day when I was asked to be a guest, all of a sudden my face was blown out. And so, you know, try to get some good lighting. The Logitech is very forgiving, but I would say sound to me is the most important.
Do you think that sorry, Mia, go on.
No. I was just saying definitely, but ask your question.
Do you think that the mic on the Logitech is good enough? Because I've got the Yeti right now, and that's because I'm out here and the birds are very noisy. But when I'm indoors and I'm hosting on the main computer, I've got a Logitech and I don't bother with the Yeti, and the sound is crystal clear. So all of us use Logitech 920. What do you think? Do you think it's good enough? The mic on it?
Test, you guys. Everything is see how it is, and see. I mean, the biggest thing we should tell people, I mean, first of all, start with what you have, although you really do want to get external camera, external mic. In general, anything that's on your laptop just won't do. Now, if you're doing a lot of just smartphone, yeah, I mean, if you get a good smartphone, you can get some really great coverage. A lot of my things that I did in Rome, instead of setting everything up, I just, you know, did the selfie stick and had a conversation with somebody, and then just did some editing and uploaded it to YouTube. So that's fun to do too. And then, yes, so sort of start gradually, see how it looks on your laptop. And in general, the external is going to be better. And I think it can work. I have had times when I, you know, didn't want to schlep this because it is heavy, and I've just used the Logitech as well. But you know, I mean, I don't feel like you have to go out and buy everything now. I mean, we all have the Blue Yeti, we all have the Logitech. I have the these are called these are from Amazon. Look at the little, oh, it's got a tiara, yay! These are from Amazon, cowboy lighting, and they was I got that at a pretty good deal. So start gradually and just see. But Jeff is spot on about sound. I mean, if you are somewhere where it's distracting, it will, you may as well hang up the show.
Yeah, yeah. First thing I did was mic and camera, and then the next month I got a second camera because we need to, don't we, Chef, when we cook? And then the third month, softbox lighting, almost like Mia's, but softbox lighting, yeah. And one other thing is, don't go for the cheap stuff. You will regret it down the road. Get the best you can afford, not the cheap stuff.
Yep.
Well, that's one thing about the camera and the microphone is they're neither are that expensive. The microphone's around $100 if you want to go for it, and the cameras, I've gotten them on sale for like $59. I have 5 of them. I don't even want to tell you.
And I'll tell you what's a great idea too is to buy Amazon Prime. If you're buying it through Amazon, just get an Amazon Prime membership because then you get the free shipping, which, trust me, when you're starting to order this stuff, it pays for itself. Just saying.
Yeah, and you can find a lot of things on Amazon to buy too. So once you start.
A little bit of, yeah, it's a little troubling.
And you can always return stuff if it doesn't work.
They are so good about that, absolutely.
Yeah. And things haven't gotten shipped, and they'll ship out a new one to you right away, no questions asked. So they are very, and you can get someone on the phone. It's amazing. I couldn't believe you actually could.
And no, we're not being paid by Amazon.
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, my friends, we're running towards the end of this show, and so let's real quick just go around and if you have any last tips for people that want to do some kind of a show or that are interested in doing some kind of a video, what would you tell them? Let's start with Mia.
Ah, son of a bitch. Because everybody's going to say something cool. I'm like, yeah, that one too. You know, I do love the authenticity, so please just make sure that you're starting off your show exactly within reason of the tenor, the humor, and the type of subject, you know, that you want to have out there. And then definitely share that out. Get people to share that out. Get your board of influencers to say, hey, could you share this out for me? And then get, you know, crowdsource. I love the idea of crowdsourcing to get your message out there.
Absolutely. Lynn?
Connect with your audience. You've got to connect with your audience, I think. I mean, it's on the same line as being authentic and stuff. Just, you know, just look at the camera. Might be difficult if you're not used to it. Even I sometimes look at Chef as opposed to the camera when I'm speaking to him. But, you know, one of the best ways is to look at the camera. And, you know, just be yourself. That's the best way to connect.
Very good. Jeff?
I would say get over yourself. You know, whenever I hear myself, I still think I sound like Kermit the Frog. Hi-ho, good neighbor. You know, but get over it. You're gonna, you know, you're always gonna think you sound funny and look funny. Just get over it and do it and be consistent. You know, if you say you're gonna do a show, announce it to the world and do the show. You know, you may want to start. I'm gonna do one twice a month, but be consistent and just go out there and do it.
And I will add, if something doesn't work, if you've tried something and it doesn't feel like a good fit, don't be afraid to end it and start something new, because it's all about beginnings and endings.
Absolutely. Okay, just one more thing, Chef, if I can just say this. If something goes wrong live, doesn't matter. Just get on with it. I once poured the Singapore sling all over myself live. So just got a towel, dabbed myself, and made a new one.
It's always a blooper reel, too, Lynn.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All I'm thinking is, damn, I missed that show with the wet T-shirt contest. But no, it's live TV, and remember that, and people are very forgiving, and in fact, people are starting to like that more than something that's just well thought out, not well thought out, but over thought out and really polished. It's about connecting with real people, so keep that in mind. So thank you all so much for joining. We had a lot of great questions. We had a lot of good tips for how to be a successful YouTube show host, and we're going to come up in another hour and start engaging with your audience online and in real life, because sometimes we forget how to do it in real life. There's a little bit of difference, and I have Bess Auer, Wade Harmon, and Mike Alton for that. So I will see you all in about an hour, and thank you all for joining us. So have a great day, and I'll see you soon.
Bye, Chevy. Thanks.
Thanks for having us.